Jeffrey Epstein was a product of at least one element of the intelligence community. I would bet money on it.
The CIA, FBI.
I don't know who ran him, but he knew a tremendous amount about my scientific work in ways that he wasn't supposed to. And very powerful people told me I needed to meet him. He certainly was not a financier in any standard sense. That was a cover story. I need to know what this thing was, and I want to know why people don't investigate it. I want to know why nobody asks for the filings. But I think more than anything, we don't trust our scientists because our scientists are the most powerful people in our society.
So do you think science is being controlled so that it can be used in a way that's beneficial?
Let's put it this way.
Eric Weinstein is a renowned mathematician
and one of the most fearless and provocative thinkers of our time.
He dissects the failures of science,
exposes elite networks, and proposes bold new theories that could save humanity.
So top of mind for me at the moment is the apocalypse and tropical fruit. I'm not kidding. You're looking at the end, man.
Do you really think this is the start of the end?
Of course it is. Look at how much has happened in the last month. And the big problem is that we share one atmosphere. All of humanity's eggs are in one basket.
So what needs to happen to get me a future?
So I think Elon is 100% right. We've got to get to another sphere. But he's being a complete when it comes to science, and he's being a total hero when it comes to engineering. But you can't engineer your way to the stars with the science we have. But physics opens the universe to you. But we have a real problem. A new idea in physics changes the balance of power in the world. The desire of our government is to get the science to give us as much power as possible. But then they castrate the scientists, belittle them, destroy their families, their lives, their ability to earn, because our government isn't good enough to keep its own secrets. My employer was a special informant to the FBI. There's a doctrine that says physicists don't have free speech. They're stopping the world's most important group from making progress. Physics is the only thing that's going to get you a future. So let's talk about that.
I see messages all the time in the comment section that some of you didn't realize you didn't subscribe. So if you could do me a favor and double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the free thing that anybody that watches the show frequently can do to help us here, to keep everything going in this show in the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you subscribed. And thank you so much, because in a strange way, you're part of our history and you're on this journey with us. And I appreciate you for that. So yeah, thank you. Eric, you are a particularly captivating individual for the very fact that you grace so many different intellectual subjects. As we sit here now having this conversation, I want to know what subjects at this moment in time are occupying most of your thoughts and most of your thinking. We have a strong listenership here, and I think the responsibility that I have meeting someone like you is to understand what we should be talking about.
So top of mind for me at the moment is tropical fruit and physics. I'm not kidding.
Tropical fruit and physics?
Yeah. But that's just because you're catching me on a particular day.
Okay.
And my local 99 Ranch market ran out of rambutan, which I'm addicted to. No, I have serious issues with tropical fruit. I'm completely obsessed by it.
What about this week? What's been occupying most of your thoughts this week?
Well, the apocalypse and physics.
Why did you say the apocalypse? And what do you mean by the apocalypse?
Well, we're becoming inured to the apocalypse. We just watched hypersonic missiles slam into a modern city on TV. And we're watching one of the world's most remarkable civilizations, the Persians, take direct hits from both Israel and the US, and I'm just beside myself. I mean, this is incredibly dramatic. If you think about, just the idea of the Jews and the Persians are both still here. And, one of the things that I find really just painful is that I care about certain cultures that I know well more than others. And these are two of my absolute favorites.
What's going on at this moment in time? Because it feels like there's more conflict than there's ever been. I don't know whether that's just a bias that I have in this moment, but whether I'm looking at the wrong social media algorithm, but it feels like the world is tense.
Well, you're too young for the Cold War. So I don't know how old you are.
32.
Yeah, so you really missed, I grew up in a different world where things were tense because there were two players, and it was more or less the US and the Soviets. And then we decided, one of the dumbest things we ever came up with, a very smart man came up with one of the dumbest ideas, which was the end of history. And, the post-World War II order is here to stop us from using the technologies that came out of this. And, I talk about this a lot. There was a 6-month period between November of '52 and April of '53 where we unlocked first the power of the nucleus because we could fuse hydrogen. And the other thing we were able to do was figure out the three-dimensional structure of nucleic acid in the form of the double helix. And suddenly, in no time flat, we had access to the two most powerful levers humanity has ever had and perhaps ever will. And so we're just not in a position to deal with this. And the remarkable thing—
What does that mean, sorry, in terms of, you said we had access to the two most remarkable things?
Well, the hydrogen bomb is not something that has ever been used by anyone against an enemy.
This is the first full-scale test of a hydrogen device. If the reaction goes, we're in the thermonuclear era.
3, 2, 1. So we're awaiting its first use in war. We did use fission devices, but we didn't use fusion devices. And they're at completely different scales. So the Hiroshima and Nagasaki are the only two situations in which a nuke has ever been used against a population, civilian or otherwise. And we don't know, for example, whether or not, I don't know, at least COVID had its origins in a bioweapons program. So at some level, we're playing with levers and tools that are so powerful. Do you realize that the key ingredient that made COVID so unique was a 4 amino acid sequence inserted into spike protein? So that's 12 nucleotides coding for 4 amino acids shut down planet Earth for a couple of years. That's how powerful this is, and there are very few things that have this kind of leverage. In 2017, we had a discovery, a white paper called Attention is All You Need. And oddly, many of us dealing with AI and LLMs and talking that language don't even realize there's a paper that you can read that changed everything. It's 8 authors out of Google, I think, and that opened up AI. Satoshi in 2008, 2009 with the solution to the distributed double spend problem, where you could effectively port conservation laws from the physical world into the digital world, giving us digital gold. But just as a beginning, these ideas that have such high leverage are making us powerful beyond any previous world, with no attendant increase in our wisdom, in our ability to use and wield these things. And right now you're seeing the face where we're unveiling, what does drone warfare look like in FPV? What is
FPV?
First person, where you're looking through the lens of the drone as it slams into a personnel carrier. Maybe you've seen this on Telegram, where you're just watching individuals being menaced by mechanical flying birds equipped to kill them. So we didn't know what drone warfare looked like. This is the beginning of drone warfare. We didn't know what hypersonic missiles look like when they slam into a population center. I was just in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
A couple months ago. And I was in, shelters because the Houthis and some of the Palestinian Arabs in Gaza were letting off missiles. But not like this. The Persians really, and by the way, they're choosing, I think, to not inflict maximal damage. I don't think that they could have gotten the body count a lot higher if they'd wanted to. They're trying to speak the language of violence in a very measured fashion.
So is this a particularly tense moment, or is it just the bias that I have because I've not been through these things before? Is there something different?
I can't even believe the question. You're looking at the end, man. This is the beginning. This is a slow rollout of a completely different world. We've all been in a completely artificially stagnant bubble for decades. My entire life up until now has been in a bubble. The only people who've seen real life are extremely old.
Who are those people that have seen real life?
Well, I would say people who went through the Depression, World War II. In China, people who went through Mao's Great Leap Forward. But most of us have no idea of what, like a real pandemic, like a Spanish flu or Black Plague is like. We don't know what Poland went through, where they lost, 20, 25% of their population to war. Look at the statistics on the Battle of Stalingrad. We don't really understand. We've just, our whole life has been in a bubble.
You said I'm looking at the end.
Yeah. Remember all the talk about the singularity? Like Ray Kurzweil, we're heading to the singularity. What is the singularity going to be like? You're in it. This is now. You're looking at the disintegration of NATO. You're looking at people who don't know how to maintain the systems that were engineered by their great-grandparents after World War II. That order. That, you're from the UK. If you think about how the UK woke up to the idea that they had built into their heads that we are the masters of the world. So you saw the beginning of the end of this concept of the British Empire. That moment is coming for the US. And it may be that it's coming for Israel, or it may be that it's coming for Iran. See, in 1967, the Israelis felt invincible in the Six-Day War. And then in 1973, they had the Yom Kippur War. And all the people that they were priding themselves as having beaten, these ferocious enemies that were arrayed against them, woke up on Yom Kippur in 1973 and bloodied the Israelis, and they surprised them. So the Israelis underestimated their enemy, and that changed the entire character of the country. It went from being a triumphal state that felt that David could defeat Goliath to realizing that Goliath was quite powerful. And, the same thing is going to happen here. You saw the celebration that Trump, had dealt this blow to the Iranian nuclear facilities. You watch the Persians come back. We're starting to realize what the boundaries are as people are more bold in trying things. Maybe Xi's going to try to cross the Taiwan Strait. I don't know. But the era of stasis, where very little happened over very long periods of time, is over.
So you think this is the start of escalation?
This is the start of the undoing of the post-World War II order. The idea that the post-World War II order is still in place is astounding.
So what happens next?
We either scare the crap out of ourselves and come to our senses, or we don't.
We scare the crap out of ourselves and come to our senses?
Or we don't.
And what does that look like, scaring the crap out of ourselves?
Well, I don't know. How did you feel about the hypersonic missiles? We started this, and I'm talking about tropical fruit because I'm trying to figure out whether I should buy a jackfruit and stink up my wife's kitchen. And on the other hand, I just saw hypersonic missiles slam into the buildings I was just in for meetings in Tel Aviv.
There's a nuclear threat that weirdly hangs over us. And I almost feel at some deep level, we all understand and feel that threat, that there's these 9 or 10 countries around the world that have the ability to basically wipe out all of us at any moment. I feel like that's almost within us all. That knowing is within us all.
I totally disagree.
Really?
Yeah. I think about nothing else sometimes, and I still don't believe it. I don't believe it. There's a difference between knowing something in your head and knowing something embodied.
Yeah. I don't know if we're able to distinguish whether we know it in our head or whether it's embodied unconsciously to the point that it's changing how we act. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm now aware that there's 9 countries, and I'm also aware of that really it's one individual's decision as to whether those nuclear bombs were to fly. So there's a part of me that's, I don't know, maybe in suspended disbelief or at a deeper level feels an angst.
But nobody knows what to do with it. And this is part of what Elon is all about, which is that I am convinced that everybody else needs to be talking about this much more, and I need to be talking about this much less. I talk about this all the time. People are always, I want to survive more than anything else. There's so many things that I love about this place, and I don't like the idea that we're all trapped here with one atmosphere, with 9 individuals, if you like, who could all wake up on the wrong side of the bed and say, today's the day. Part of what I'm so exercised about with respect to the apocalypse is how many things I want to save. This city just went up in flames. It focuses the mind. How many things can I save in one carload if I know that the police are not going to let me come back to my home? Do you save photos? Do you save musical instruments? Do you save financial records? What is it that you save? It was a very focusing question. We're already over it. We can't even remember the fires.
On that point of the things that give us meaning in our lives, where do you think we're at as a society in terms of our feelings of meaning and purpose and connectedness to maybe something transcendent? Or I was mulling over this idea the other day. I actually posted it on my LinkedIn page of all places. I said that I think we need to ladder up to things to feel like anchored and content in life. Like we start with ourselves and we ladder up to family, then community, then maybe a mission or a purpose, and then maybe to something transcendent. And it feels like because of the design of our lives and the optimization of it, we're increasingly laddering up to just ourselves.
Yeah.
I think even in my life, I'm wondering whether there's like a layer missing, which is the religious layer or a spiritual layer.
Do you pray?
It's a good question.
You'll come over Friday night and pray with us.
I'd say I do pray.
That's pretty weak.
But it's not the way that I see prayer in movies and stuff.
So that's the thing, right? We have this idea that somebody puts their hands together and they just believe.
Yeah.
But a lot of time when you're praying, you don't really believe. You're not sure that you're doing anything sensible. You feel ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And that's true even if you're a believer.
Do you think we need religion?
Yeah, said the atheist.
Are you an atheist?
Yeah. But I take religion super seriously. I don't think we're meant to live without it.
That's an interesting conundrum.
I don't think so. Everybody gets hung up on it. I sort of wonder what their problem is.
Please explain. So you believe that we aren't meant to live without religion. We're meant to be orientated by something transcendent, but you don't believe that it's real.
I think that, there's this great trick that I learned when I was scuba diving, which is that your need to breathe is triggered by the buildup of CO2 in your lungs. And there are all sorts of things you can do to decrease your need to breathe. One is you can hyperventilate, and you can get rid of all of the CO2 that's residual. You can also inure your lungs to CO2 by smoking. You can also breathe out the precious air that your instincts tell you to hold in. You can do all these things, and then you can go super deep. You can learn how to equalize the pressure in your ears by holding your nose in these techniques. And suddenly, you're far deeper than you've ever been, and you're exploring the rocks and the fishes, and there's a turtle and there's an eel. And you get a message, you're out of air. And you look up and you see, I am really far from the surface. This is terrifying. That's what happens when you unhook the proximate, which is air hunger, from the ultimate, which is the need to breathe. So thirst is proximate to dehydration. Hunger is proximate to the need for nourishment. In part, religion and prayer is there to keep us from unhooking all of these protective things and just turning life into a hoot. You can have a hoot without religion, but if everybody has a hoot, the whole society collapses. At some point, I think a president of the United States may have said that people who defend this country were suckers. Something like that. And I thought, God damn you. Maybe it's true even. But how many families have received a flag-draped coffin and felt pride? Like, we lost something precious, but we are part of the American tapestry in a way that few families can be. And when we outsmart ourselves, when we unhook all of these things, every single young woman has an idea about what the opportunity cost of not going on OnlyFans is. Before, we didn't know what the opportunity cost. There was no measurement of it. We're becoming too sophisticated. We've got too much information. We're deranging ourselves. We're having a blast. And we're completely undoing all of the superstructure of the world. The number of people who don't have children or want children, or my kids make fun of me that I just go around telling people to make babies. And it's the most normal thing in the world. I meet parents who don't harass their own children to get married and have families. Like, what are you doing?
The superstructures of the world.
Yeah.
One being family.
Yeah.
Love.
Traditions.
Yeah.
Things that connect you to.
And what are the symptoms of that unhooking from the superstructures of the world?
How much do you care about things? How much do you care about people saying your name 4 generations out?
Me?
Yeah, you.
You're probably asking the wrong person, because I just don't think legacy matters, because I'm going to be dead.
That's right. But I'm asking all of you who believe that.
Yeah.
That is so sad. It is so weird that no one cares about their legacy because they don't see a future. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm desperate to get you a future so that you care.
What needs to happen to get me a future?
Something remarkable. Something utterly remarkable, because it's not going that way. And that's what the physics part is. Like, I talk about physics constantly. Physics is the only thing that's going to get you a future.
How?
Well, right now, the big problem is that we share one atmosphere.
Yeah.
So everything that can, all the really bad things, whether it's pathogens, like imagine something COVID-like but far worse, or climate, or radiation, all of these things don't know anything about borders. To an extent, there's a southern and a northern hemisphere that are separate, but even that's not a great border. So we can draw all the borders on land that we want, but we still have basically 1 or 2 atmospheres, and I would really say 1. And we've now gotten powerful enough to really screw it up, right? And so
Through nukes or through carbon emissions?
all 3 of those things,
Okay.
right? Everything that you care about is on 1 sphere with 1 atmosphere. And I think Elon is 100% right. We got to get to another sphere. I can't believe that he's focused on Mars. I mean, sure, focus on the moon, focus on Mars, focus on chemical rockets. But throw a couple billion towards physics, for God's sakes, and let us get serious about exploring the cosmos. This is our womb. This is not our home. You know that song, Closing Time?
No, I don't.
Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I think it's about birth. Yeah, it's time to be born. You can't stay here. This is completely obvious to me, and I am the only person who talks this way, and so I sound like a lunatic, and I get tired of it. But the real reason, it's about the mangoes. It's about the rambutan. It's about the music. It's about all the things that I love.
So why would you want to leave?
I want to take it with us, and I want to see what else is out there, and I want to meet people.
Why don't you just stay here and fix this planet?
Because you can't. The odds of fixing 1 sphere for a permanent future, you've already talked about it. You don't care about the future.
I don't have children yet either, so I don't have that.
But my children don't have children, and their children don't have children. And I care about them, and they're not even here.
We've got some time left here, though, no?
Well, we did. If you looked what's happened in the last month, it's coming undone. Pakistan and India.
Do you really think this is the start of the end?
I have no idea where I am. Of course it is. The World War II order was it's like control rods keeping the world from going supercritical.
Can't we just put the rods back together?
Have you looked at we had an election with Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris in the US. Tell me what's going on in the UK. What are we doing in the mayoral race for New York? I don't know if you're watching what I'm watching. Look at the mess that's going on in Gaza. Russia is nuclear. Israel is presumably nuclear. Pakistan and India are nuclear. The US is nuclear. Iran is almost nuclear. China is pissed off about Iran because it was trying to make a play through the region. North Korea is watching. Oh, and look at the UK in turmoil. UK is a very nuclear country, to say nothing of France. This is not going to go well. And by the way, look at how much is happening with AI, right? Everything was really stagnant. So I have this famous challenge that I give people, which is go into a room and subtract the screens and forget about style. How do you know you're not in 1973? Like drones are the beginning. Imagine I needed a refill on my coffee and you did something and a drone brought me a coffee to not interrupt the flow. We know we weren't in 73, but in general, drones aren't a big part of our lives. These robots, I've never seen a humanoid robot actually doing anything other than on YouTube where it's like doing the mashed potato. Mm-hmm. So in general, yeah, things were just really stagnant for a really long time. And during that period of stagnation, we had this crazy narrative, which is like the dizzying pace of change is making it almost impossible to keep up while things were incredibly stagnant. And so it just shows you sort of this weird way in which our minds can be programmed to completely ignore what we're experiencing.
Is there not chance that we'll just continue to...
Okay, if you want to go with chance, look, until you're worried about your great-great-grandchildren, I don't want to have this conversation with you. I want you to start caring about that. I want you to go to church. You're heir to a great tradition. One of the most important traditions in the world has to be Christianity, because both Judaism and Islam are screwed up over the law. We're legal traditions. Christianity, not so much. And I think the first time somebody crystallized that for me was Sam Harris. It's a really important point. But you're heir to an incredibly powerful and important tradition. And if we don't have a Christian substrate, we're in real trouble because all of our society is based on an assumption of a Christian substrate.